Boys and girls, if you still don't understand how OpenClaw's memory work under the hood, then this video is for you. In case you haven't read the official documentation of OpenClaw on sessions and memory, I know it's a lot to go over. This is a lot. And if you haven't read this, don't worry, because in this video, we're going to compact everything you need to know about OpenClaw memory. First of all, let's start with how does it work, right? What is OpenClaw's memory system? Because most people think of OpenClaw's memory as one system, but it's not. Actually, OpenClaw has 4 separate memory systems or memory layers, right? And they work completely differently. It's like a computer where you have a hard drive, you have a RAM, you have a cache, and you have a search index. And knowing which layer broke is 90% of fixing it. So here are the 4 layers you need to know. You have Bootstrap files, Transcript, context window, and Retrieval index. So let's dive into Bootstrap files first. Now, the Bootstrap files are your agent's permanent identity. And these files are loaded from disk at every session start. Now, whenever you clear the context window of your OpenClaw agent, or when your OpenClaw agent does it automatically for you with compaction, usually this is end up what happening. And your OpenClaw agent is like, I don't know who you are. I don't even know who I'm talking to. And then you end up looking like Walter White. Like, Now, why this happened is because the lengthy conversation that you've had with your OpenClaw agent is in fact not saved or automatically saved to those Bootstrap files. And these Bootstrap files are always loaded from disk at every session start. They are not stored in conversation history. They're read fresh from the file system at every session start. And this makes them immune to compaction because they're outside the transcript. Any changes you make to these files take effect immediately on the next session. And this is your most durable layer. Now, Bootstrap files do have limits. The defaults are 20,000 characters per file and 150,000 characters total. A quick way to check is to run the / command context, all right, / context. Click that. So if in Discord, have input, and in the input box, you put list, and you'll have this output right here, where it shows you your total characters. Now, if a file exceeds the limit, it gets truncated. So instead of seeing OK, it gets truncated. Now, why this happens is because you have way too many characters in those specific MD files. So over the past month, we've noticed that particularly for the sol.md file, keep it to about 15 to 30 lines minimum. If you have 100 lines or more, then that's why your context window gets filled up pretty quickly, because every session start, your agent always reads those Bootstrap files. So the tip here is to keep those characters as minimum as possible. Remember, characters, not tokens, okay? If they're more than 150,000 characters, then you have a bit of a problem. So remove what is not necessary, only keep the important ones, and for the important ones, try to make those as concise as possible so that you don't have a lot of lines. Now, for the skills is a bit different. They're not part of the Bootstrap files. They are a completely different ecosystem. Because they're not injected at every session start, it's not necessary to have a low character for your skills MD file, because you can have hundreds or even thousands of skills MD file. We'll talk about that in another video. But just remember, your Bootstrap files, keep them as low as possible. And always make sure that the raw characters are matched with the injected characters. The keyword here is injected because they're injected into the context in the next session. So at this point, you already know what goes where for the different Bootstrap files. But a quick tip that I learned is if you're launching parallel sub-agents, they only read agent's MD file and your tool's MD file. That's why they lack the personality of your main agent. So if you need specific instructions for task completions, you have to check your agents.md file and your tools.md file to make sure they have the necessary instructions and skills to carry out the task you need completed. Now, the next memory layer is the session transcript. This is the conversation history layer. Every conversation is saved as a file on disk, stored in your .OpenClaw. It's not necessarily going to be sessions. For some people, it might be different. And how you locate that is through the directory of your OpenClaw agent, which is why we really like using Termius and we really like hosting our agent on a VPS, because we have a very clean interface of every file that we have for our OpenClaw agent. So for us, that would be the .OpenClaw. And make sure you have show hidden files on. That way you can see what's happening under the hood, right? For me personally, the sessions is in the memory file under this SQLite text. And as you can see, this is unreadable by humans. It's a scrambled text of God knows what. And that is exactly the black box that they're talking about for AI, is when they're storing data in something called like a vector database, they relate text to numbers or other types of signs that cannot be read by humans. So for some reason, maybe this can mean like Pepsi, right? So it's a whole different topic. We don't need to cover that in this video, but just remember that your conversation is saved as a file on that disk containing the full message history, user messages, assistant messages, tool calls, and this transcript is rebuilt into context when you continue a session, and it persists across restarts. But there is a problem with session transcript, right? When the context window approaches its limits, so it's usually 200,000, OpenClaw triggers auto compaction. And these old messages are summarized into a compact form. And the summary replaces the detailed history in context. So from that point forward, the model can no longer see the original messages, but the raw transcript file still exists on the disk, right? You can see it right here. You can see it, but you don't understand what this means. But the model sees this summary, and this is a critical distinction. That's why when it comes to compaction, it's better if you do it manually yourself. That's why some of you guys on our channel are discussing, what's the best point to compact what's the best point to make those compaction? Is it 120K? Is it 80K? Is it 160K? Right? Just remember to do it before it hits 200K or even 80%, which is about 160K. Usually when it reaches 150K, I have to compact it. All right. Now let's talk about lifespan. Before compaction, the full detailed history is available. But after compaction, only the summary plus recent messages remain. And when we're talking about recent messages, that is the last 20,000 tokens stay intact. Old messages gets compressed into the summary. And this is why instructions given in chat, okay, don't survive long sessions. They get summarized away. And this is in fact what happened to Summer Yu. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, she works at safety and alignment at Meta Super Intelligence, and her OpenClaw was bulk deleting her emails. And this is because the instructions she gave was in conversation, but it was never saved into a file. So always remember to give instructions or rules, save it in a file, because if it's not in a file, it don't exist. Don't do it in chat. Okay? So what gets lost during compaction? You have to assume that, the exact wording of earlier instructions. So if you want them to remember like word for word, of course they're not going to remember word for word. They're going to summarize that. Nuance and context from old messages, specific constraints mentioned mid-conversation, such as, summary use instruction not to delete those emails, preferences stated casually, and images from earlier in this session. The only thing that survives after compaction is anything that is written to the Bootstrap files. That's why we keep saying, write it to a file. Now, let's talk about memory layer number 3, the context window. This is the active working memory layer. It's a fixed size container where everything competes for space. The system prompt, that's instructions from OpenClaw, Bootstrap files, conversation history, tool calls and their results, and the current message being processed. All of this has to fit in one container. Now let's talk about size. Because Cloud Opus and Sonnet have 200,000 tokens. GPT-4 has 128,000 tokens. Gemini Pro has 1,000,000 tokens. Now, one token is roughly 0.75 words in English. So 200,000 tokens is about 150,000 words, so or roughly 300 pages of a book. It sounds like a lot, but it fills up faster than you think. So what fills it up? Tool results are the biggest consumers. File reads, web snapshots, API responses. You have long conversations with multi-turn back and forth, code blocks where you're pasting full file contents, and of course your Bootstrap files. So once again, you want to keep them as minimum as possible. A quick tip for you guys, if you want your agent to analyze a YouTube video, rather than feeding them the link and then have YouTube Transcript API to fetch the transcript and then analyze it, you can in fact just, it's not automated, but you can get the transcript of the video. So let's say maybe this one, for example, here, show transcript. You can have it off, but I noticed toggling it on is better. Just copy the whole thing, put it in a rich text file, and upload that rich text file in the chat. That way you save so much token. It's like 95% tokens. It's crazy. Okay, but back to the video. Just remember that these are loaded at every turn, and when it fills, compaction fires, and that's the trigger. And here's how the trigger works. So compaction fires when current usage reaches context limit minus reserve tokens floor minus soft threshold. And what this means is, for example, with a 200,000 context window, that's 200,000 minus 40,000 minus 4,000 equals 156,000. So it doesn't even need to be 200,000. It can even be at 156,000 and the auto compaction fires up. And the reserve tokens floor can be adjusted in your command line. It doesn't have to be 40,000. If you have a very large task, you can actually keep this pretty small. But if you have a small workflow, you can have it at 40,000. So if you're still confused, don't worry, because this is configurable. We'll talk about this in another video where we go more in depth on how this works. Now, the last memory layer we're going to be talking about is the retrieval index. This is the searchable archive layer. It's basically an index that sits beside or even outside your memory files. It indexes your memory.md or your memory directory. The agent queries it with the memory search tool, and then it returns relevant snippets from past sessions. And it even uses hybrid search, so that's keyword plus semantic matching. And how it works is you write information to memory files. OpenClaw then indexes the content, and the agent searches with something like, memory search for the word pricing decision or Pepsi. And the index returns relevant snippets with file paths. Then the agent reads the full context with memory get. It's a two-step process: search, then retrieve. In fact, one way to do this is with Obsidian and GitHub. I did a whole guide about this 2 weeks ago. Card is up there if you want to watch it. And in fact, this is the practical application that I'm using for this, is storing all of the news that my OpenClaw agent has scraped from World Monitor, right? That way it doesn't take a big toll on its memory files. I just offload it outside of the memory in Obsidian and in GitHub. All it has to do is just, search, fetch from there, outside its memory directories, and then respond to me with relevant information pertaining to my question. So now let's summarize the 4 layers. Remember that the Bootstrap files are permanent. They can be reloaded from disk, and they're immune to compaction. Session transcript is a full history on disk, but gets summarized in context. And this is actually the problem that most people are facing. Basically, if you, in the next session, you ask your OpenClaw agent, hey, do you remember anything about what I said in the last session, maybe they can like answer you like the topics, but they can't really dive into the nitty gritty or the little details that you've said in the chat because they've summarized it rather than having the full history, rather than having it word for word. Remember, it's about context, even though they have full history on disk. And then third is the context window. It's fixed size, everything competes, and triggers compaction when full. You'll actually get a better feel for how to optimize your context window, I think about 1 to 2 weeks into your journey if you just started off using OpenClaw agent. And we'll talk about that configurable in another video on how to optimize your context window. And last but not least, you have the retrieval index. It's a searchable archive, but only works for files. And these 4 layers work together to give your agent memory. And understanding these 4 layers helps you know where to put important information with Bootstrap files, understand why chat instructions disappear through session transcripts, manage context usage effectively, and make information searchable without putting a huge load in your memory files. Just to add something a bit extra here for the retrievable index. So I know that I use GitHub and Obsidian for news research, but for something that I really want it to be very familiar with and live directly in its brain, or in its memory directory, for Loki, I'll show you an example here. In its memory, I have a whole directory related to my trading system. And rather than having these in an Obsidian or a GitHub, I want it directly here because I noticed that things that are like evergreen, recurring, can be put in the memory file rather than just have it searchable on GitHub or Obsidian. So it's really up to preference. And if you want to save something like this in your memory file, you have to make sure you tidy up your folder, your directory. So you can see in the memory file of Loki, he has an entire folder dedicated to trading system. And these ones out here, I don't know why Loki didn't group them into a folder called World Monitor, but we don't really have much here for the World Monitor one. But the trading system one is it has everything I have for my own trading system. So I hope this video has helped you understand actually how OpenClaw's memory work under the hood. And as you can see, even just from that, it's quite a lot to talk about. So in the next video, we'll also cover the 3 failures of OpenClaw memory. So usually when your OpenClaw agent forgets something, it's either one of the 3. And then I think in the 3rd video, we'll talk about solutions. So file architecture, we'll go more in depth into the configs that we use to make our OpenClaw memory better. So boys, remember to smash up the like button if you find this video helpful. Subscribe to our channel, join Discord. We have an amazing community where we bounce ideas off each other. And yeah, take good care of yourselves. My name is Ron. Shanana.